I wanted us to have a conversation today about how art challenges power. We see that artists are often in the front line when in a conflict. They're often persecuted just because of their art. And talking to the three of you that are all artists, I wanted to start out with, why is that? Like, why is art so powerful that it makes people in power afraid?
Simply, art is the fastest way to talk to public and to even change the culture, or you can even brainwash people with art. So it's very dangerous. People would not listen to politicians, but they will listen to artists. And they will like memorize their songs or get affected with films and movies or theater, not with politicians' speeches. So they must be very afraid of artists, of course. They know they are more powerful than them.
When you were in Egypt and working as you call yourself a sound composer.
Yeah.
How did you experience that?
I was oppressed in a different way than just being arrested for speaking out, for writing. I'm not a singer, so I just can make like a production for another singer who is singing against the regime. But as an activist, I post on social media, and that will put you in jail, like in a minute. But also because I'm a woman, I was sexually attacked, and that's a very strong weapon to make people afraid, and not just women, it's all her family. And that's what the protest was. It was the people, the Egyptian people, protesting against the regime. So when you attack women, you are already attacking all her family. So it's all about scaring and make you comply with the system or the rules that they want you to follow, or you will pay a very high price for that. So it's a very mean way to control and to prevail the dictatorship and control people's minds, also through religion. Like it's all about brainwashing.
Do you feel like your art is kind of an activism in itself?
I do it through my art, and now I started adding other singers on my compositions, and I'm still a bit afraid for my family in Egypt, even when I do that here. But I can take it further. I can sometimes, if it's really, I shouldn't say that, but if it's really offensive, I don't write my name on it. I did that several times, even while I'm here, and this persona they want to kill, I guess, but they don't know it's me. This is very dangerous to say now. But they will never know that it is me. You know? So I still have these double personalities, double artists. I have also that instrumental one. This is safe. So it's even dangerous when you are abroad, still.
In Norway, art can also be controversial, and you both work in Norway. And how have you experienced how art can be powerful? Or either as activism or in itself?
I'm sort of thinking that in the original, I mean, as art as a power, you know, and as powerful, then I would think that art could be powerful when it meets people, you know, when you are a part of a movement, or when you're are leading or working with a group of people or important movements in the people, and not by itself really. So I think that, I mean, when I was in a rap group called Galtas Parlament, a really good rap group, and
yes, it was.
yes. and of course I never been to Hayher Square or anything like it. So I agree. It feels kind of silly to discuss it in this context, but here we are. So let's accept that. No, but when I mean, we have always seen our music as a weapon or a tool to change the world in some direction that we want to change the world, and we have also been activists at the same time. So we haven't we haven't needed to go out. What shall we make a song about? Because it's always there. Because you're always in some kind of a struggle and some kind of a fight, and you need to express that and to make a song that can help it in some kind of way. And the moment when you feel that now it's working in some way is, of course, the moment when you're connecting with people and are able to enrage people or to make people fight. And when you say something, I mean, we did one really unimportant thing once where we criticized the Crown Prince of Norway, and and it was not an important political fight for us, to fight the monarchy. It was more like, hey, it's monarchy, it's silly, so let's oppose it. And it wouldn't be important if it hadn't been that there were 1,500 people in the crowd that were shouting with us, and the Crown Prince was in the back of the room, and it's the moment when you meet all those people, and also all our important songs really is not about the songs, it's about the movement we make ourselves part of. The great philosopher Cersei Lannister once said, power is power, and art isn't power unless you can turn it into power in some way. And thousands of marching people, that's power, that's obviously power. So if you can work with that, then you can have power.
What about the Prime Minister? Is it just the Prince?
No.
You just criticize the monarchy. Can you do that with the Prime Minister?
Do it anybody.
Oh yeah, it's much easier to do it against the Prime
Easier.
Minister, because everybody hates the Prime Minister. The Prince everybody loves, so then it's
But
kind of more controversial.
Okay.
But I mean, that wasn't important for us,
But it was very.
It
It was just a fun idea when you were just saying Crown Prince, and then lately we just hear Crown Prince in the media. When we hear Crown Prince, we hear about the, of course, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. That's the sound. So it would be nice to think about. I suddenly just saw this image, Gata's parliament, with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia sitting on the back.
Oh yeah, that
Going
would-
in.
I-
But
we probably wouldn't
Mon-
dare to do that. I
You
think.
will be
or-
cut in pieces now.
But
Yeah.
I'm just. I think there is a difference when you talk. Also, I mean, of course we can. There's differences, but I don't think we should get scared of discussing the differences, because there's also problematic when we put problematics. Of course, there's a difference to be activist in Egypt and to be activist in Norway, or being artist in different. So of course, there's a difference, but then to make the problem similar is problematic, but also to not problematize different issues, different places is also problematic, because that means that nothing continues. There's almost the same like to say that we are having a so okay time here, that's why we don't need to be that active. But there is a difference also, is that I would say, I don't know enough about Egypt, but let's say in Iran and other countries that I discussed with, the power also makes art a certain contra power. By hitting on it, by controlling it, it also makes it to a power. So while in here, just by giving it, you can do what you want, or it makes it almost unpowerless, like a bit powerless. So then you have to look for the function of it and the power of it. While if I'm an activist in Iran, in a country, so if I dance in Iran, which is not allowed to dance, I'm already on the blacklist just by dancing, without discussing it if I'm good, bad, or anything, Just by doing it, I am. And that's also, power's thing. So they need the contra power to be able to exist. But we also have to understand that these powers are also making this kind of activism activism powerful by making it on the blacklist or putting it on a. The other thing is also that I think what I always think there's a difference, at least when I'm talking with some people, is that the audience is different also, which means the audience are looking for the alternative places. The audience is trained to read between the lines. They are developed critical thinking of, if they read the newspaper of the government, they don't believe in the thing that is written there. Like, while here we have lost that training as an audience, let's say in Europe so I think there are positive and negative in the both, let's say, like this. So I think when it comes to activism, of course we have this extreme neoliberal and fascistic way, like packed in Europe in a beautiful language, acceptable. Of course, it is my right to hate anybody that I want to hate. I don't know what's the problem with it. If you are free, why can't I? Like, we have this kind of small nuances, and we don't have anybody who says this is not correct and this is correct, or so you don't have any power to do this. So I think for me it just looks a bit like a mess sometimes, at least. So you don't know where to hit.
But could that be just a difference between making like political art or whatever in the light of strong censorship and light censorship? In Norway, I would say that you have to be, as a political artist, you have to be all over there. You have to be stage left. You have to be. If you're making a song about racism in Norway, you're going to fight racism. If you say, "Hey, I'm against racism," and write a nice rhyme about it, everybody will. It will be nothing. It's like every politician says they're against racism, even the racist ones. So it don't mean anything. But so if you're going as an artist to say I'm against racism, you have to go out and say I'm gonna kill all those and gonna cut my, and you're like being really extreme about it to get the point through. That's you have to say if you're against police violence, then you have to say you have to kill all the police. To sort of get the message through. But in other places, it's maybe the opposite. That you just have to have a small hint of it, and the audience will catch that nuance and say, "Oh yeah, he says or she says she made this that's a very small nuance, which means a lot." And here's like you have to say really big stuff just to make a small point.
And the moment you go to the extremity, you also lose nuances, and then and I think that's what I'm trying. I think there is almost like it's how to say. So just for me, it's personally, when it comes to art, it's just about. I think it's about understanding a goal, like what you want to achieve with it, however small or big it's going to be, and also to think, how to say, I think activism and everybody have every country has a different strategies, and I think for me it's about learning the strategies and using it in the art making. How do I make the performances? How do I relate to the public? Because in one way, for me, at least in the performing art, you're making a world. How you meet the public that comes in, so you can actually already there start creating certain rules or certain ideas. For example, if you say, let's say within dance that you have a lot this kind of thing that always male lifting a women, you just say we're not going to do this. Let's just not do this. And then some people say, but then you limit your artistic blah, blah, blah. No, but you can change it, or at the end you're not going to die if you say, I'm not going to do this in my shows at all. Or I'm not going to be sexist. I'm not going to show female body parts or to sexualize the body in a sense. So there are things that I think, but then of course somebody can say, but now you put limitation on your art, and I say, yeah, but it's my freedom, it's my choice also to do that, because I want to achieve something. It's not. I'm not saying everybody else has to do it. It's also like I think it's just that I think we have a lot to learn from each other to be able to create that artistic rooms as radical as they can be. And I think I have more, like at least I have learned more when I'm confronted by somebody else's reality, to understand what is my reality and how do they relate with that reality. What could that be? Like an example is I saw this documentary about advertisement, and they have interviewed this Iranian advertisement company, and then you have this person, he's so cocky and so arrogant, almost that it seems like there is somebody from New York in Fifth Avenue, but he's in Iran, and just like goes like, creativity, you want to talk about creativity, we are the creativest person ever. And then he talks about that they're going to do an advertisement about shampoo for female, but they're not allowed to show a female hair, they're not allowed to show a female in shower, they're not allowed to show a female body. And then he goes, now you tell me how you're going to make that advertisement.
Silhouette.
Yeah, but no, this is not allowed either.
Really?
No, because it still looks. So if they really want to censor it, they still can censor it. They're very like a strict censorships. There's this video of a dancer from Belgium was in Iran, and then before the show, because then the censorship comes and they look at the show before it goes on, and they go this and this and this and this. No, it's not out. And there's a very funny video of this guy that from a censorship comes and says to them, no, this, only this. So they're not allowed to use any circular movement.
Wow.
You know, no circular movement, nothing. Everything has to be strict. It's really like everything must be straight. So then the guy starts to pretend that he doesn't understand. So then the censorship guy starts to showing him all the time. No this, no understand, no. But only so it becomes very funny video.
But straight can be like erection.
Sorry?
Straight can be like erection.
I mean anything.
I mean, it's still a sexual context. If you want to see it as a sexual context, you will see it as a sexual
I mean,
context.
if you want to see anything, you can see. I mean, you're free to. In a way, that's what we know. Nobody can stop the mind.
But sometimes I hear, because all of you seem very unafraid of being political, but a lot of artists that I talk to, they say that, but art shouldn't be political. I mean, do you kind of destroy the art by making it political? Should it be something, you know, out there, apolitical, while, you know, your politics is personal?
I don't think art should be political, like in a form of like giving messages. I don't see it. I don't think it should be direct. Like this president is bad. This is not art, but it can be within the whole performance that you get it from between the lines, and this goes in your conscious and live inside your conscious, but not a direct message that you can forget later. I don't believe that, and if I see it would be ridiculous if I just said something wrong. So I really go through doing what exactly I shouldn't do, like what they call taboo. So I just do it, and to be like a model of something that people are afraid to do is more powerful than saying that you can do that you should do that. Like, do it yourself, and it will break through. So I don't really believe in direct messages in that way. So I don't call it political. I can call it even humanitarian. I can call it just art. You can label it under any expression, but not really saying 1, 2, 3. And for you, I was thinking maybe you could say race that the people, the parties who are against racism are themselves racists.
Yeah.
That can be your message even, like you can, because you don't have to go very big. You can say that people against racism are racist.
Yeah, but I
Like it's like a twist like that, so you can put it in a sandwich. Because racist people claim that they are against racism. So this kind of complex ideas that you can really and put in a box, and people will get it from between the lines, not just say it through.
I'm all in favor of just saying it through.
You?
Yes, honestly.
Like-
No, I just I mean I think that art is a different word and stuff like that. Yeah, of course. And but let's not try to define stuff here. But I mean I think that most of my best songs, my most the most like the best music I made that had the most impact on real life has been direct. You know, it's been like stop this war, just on a funky beat and a great rhyme and funny lines in between, and because sometimes that the reality is that simple. You know, you got to stop this war. You know, you can't just bomb people, and of course you can always put a lot of nuance into it, and you can remove stuff, and you can be. But I mean, I think it shouldn't be a dogma for art not to be direct, because I think that
I'm not stigmatizing it. We are from different worlds, obviously. Like a female cannot even perform or dance, so just seeing a woman dancing is a political act without saying anything. But you are talking from a more sophisticated level of opposition.
No, but I mean then that's direct, you know, a female dancing in a world where females can't dance.
I didn't say it verbally direct.
But I think isn't it about, I mean, it all depends how you call it. Let's say if you're in Europe and you have a public support, which means you're using public money for making art, you're all already political. So if you want or not, it all depends if you label yourself or not, or if you, but you cannot say you are occupying a public arena, you're taking a public time. This is a social place. It's not, you cannot exclude people actually. Everybody is welcome. So it's an official space. So to say that you're not political, it's a bit problematic, I would say, but okay. Just to make it very clear, it's very, then I think you're playing naive, or you're naive. You think that I can take the government money, and I can take a public space, and not, you know, public owned space and public time and everything, but no, I am not part of this society. I'm doing something called art, and it's totally by itself, and it's protected by its own law and stuff like this. No, not even, especially not more and more now, that where the liberals has managed to even make our taxes to privatize the taxes. So they say your tax money, my tax money, which was not something we used for many years ago. We never said it was our money. It was, we paid taxes. We didn't discuss like this. So it's lots of things changed. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is just to say about directness. Then again, I think for me, I come back to where you're making what. What is your audience, and what is the society you're part of, and how you choose to. You could say, if Ghata's parliament went to Egypt by the total freedom that they had here, and they could say their directness in that room, that would be super interesting to see when this when these things are moving. Let's say like that. The same thing, you know, when I was artistic director in Casablanca, and I brought Bushra, which is a Moroccan choreographer, female choreographer, which works with. So her idea, and then to bring it to Norway to work with femininity, the way she worked with in Marrakesh, that's different to approach, for example, for us here, than she had there. She had this 70-year-old dancer with her, where she was going around and, you know, almost like grabbing and talking about sexuality and grabbing thing and fucking thing with the chador, you know. why she was this sexually active in a way when she was dancing and moving in the rehearsal. So of course the confrontation of, you know, for some people in Norway to have this, what is a 70-year-old Moroccan woman which doesn't speak French or English, just Berber, you know, what, and she brings this sexuality on, you just go like, okay, what am I then, you know, as a Norwegian free female, when she's like this, you know what I mean?
And she was making circular movements, I guess.
She was doing a lots of circles movement. They were just circling all the time. So I'm just saying there are many. But I also just this last thing. For me, it just sometimes it's about destruction. I like destruction sometimes, and that could be because I grew up in Iran when it was a war, in a good or bad way, and I think sometimes directness, when you say like, you know, like stop the war or doing, for me, when I'm making something and I don't find the way that I want to say it, let's say artistic or by the language, then I just cut through it by the saying, this is it. And I like the way it destructs everything. I like the way it breaks down. It just, the directness just takes away the composition idea, the idea of composition, the idea of the room as the atmosphere, whatever. It almost breaks down by simplicity and directness, almost breaks down all walls a bit. And I like that when you suddenly see that, yeah, I am limited as an artist and I don't find the language for this. Or the art itself is limited, so it cannot say it. So as a destruction, this directness I like. But I must also say, it could be that at this point we are old hip-hoppers. And hip-hop, it's about directness. It is not only, it's how to say, because the moment you're direct in hip-hop, you have an energy. And that energy is it's important. So it's not actually about saying stop the war. By saying stop the war, this is just it's the energy that it produces that actually gets to the activism. It's not the language. So it could also be that, you know, the directness is something else. Yeah.
You know, I'm recomprehending my ideas about this, because I always thought during the revolution, when we say stop the torture, that this is very ridiculous, because when you ask whoever, the police, to not torture the citizens, they will not listen to you.
Yeah.
They are already criminals. They're like, oh, sorry, I didn't know that you don't like torture. I didn't know that you mind being tortured. So I always felt that we shouldn't ask dictatorships or oppressors to stop oppression or to stop violence. It doesn't make any sense. But now when you said it, it felt like an order. Not asking them to stop. It's like ordering them to stop. But still it will not work. It won't work.
Maybe it's the same about Norwegian politicians, that even the racist ones say they're against racism, you know?
Yeah.
And even the torturing police say they're against torture. Or they say they don't do it.
They did that. They killed the protesters, and next year in the memorial, they built a statue for their memory with their names, and they killed them. Next year, they build a memorial for them.
Yeah.
So this is how you write history, as if someone else killed them.
Yeah.
So we are against this. But they are still killing and torturing, like now,
Yeah,
you know, while they are building the memorial. So saying stop killing, stop torture, no for torture, no for military trials, no. They will never listen. They will never listen to you anyway.
No,
so
but
I don't
you
feel
speak to the people, the crowds that can
the
really make the demand.
The pronouns used in the language is talking to the regime.
Yeah, but really, you're talking to the people.
But I think it's to do, but don't you think, I understand in a way both, you can order them to stop, then you talk to them as an equal, if you can be, which you can probably not, but you know, like, and as you say, it's true, sometimes it's also about, sometimes you say something that everybody knows in the same room, and people say, you're preaching to the believers, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's important to gather the believers and engage the believers and to to be able to start a movement, sometimes you need to gather, you need to engage, and you need so we can organize. And sometimes we forget about this also. Part of the, sometimes it's about creating activism and creating this mobility. And that's, I think, two different things. But of course, when you, again, when you talk about this kind of, for me, you know, sitting, watching Egyptian, you know, Tahrir, and that time, or Arab Spring, coming from Iranian 1979 revolution, then 2009, the Green Movement in Iran, looking the whole Arab Spring coming up. Of course, let's say the history told me something else.
Yeah, it's happening again.
It's happening again, and in a way you know what's going to happen. Of course, Muslim Brotherhood will come, because during Mubarak there was no political parties which could exist, so the only place which could be political is mosques. And they're mosques which you could be political, and they're the organized one. They're the one who can organize. No other political party can organize except mosques. The same happened, you know, in Shah time. You exclude all political parties. So I'm just saying.
They also build schools and hospitals.
Exactly. They do. So there are many. So I'm just. It's just that this thing. So then when Mubarak left, there were, you know, people are shouting happily that he left, and I'm sitting, at least I'm sitting and thinking, like, we forget that he chose to leave. He has made some deals, because he has always had a choice to kill 5 million without any problem, without any justification, without anything. So what has happened that he chooses to leave? And I think this is something we forget, of course, that powers, like you say, power is power. So when they choose to do something, so it's a bit weird. So
even Morsi, the people didn't
Morsi,
remove
of course,
Morsi.
of course.
But I just want to take us back to something that you said that I found interesting, and I haven't really thought about, the fact of building your own world. And of course you do that because you work, you know, with the room, kind of. But I was wondering, is that, you know, circling back to like our first question, is that why art is kind of so dangerous? Because with your art you create the perfect world. You create the world, you know, that could be, and you let other people see what could be, and you kind of, you create something new. And I mean, even though with dance and choreography, you can't be as direct as Aslak can with, you know, kill the police or whatever. But
I can put the Aslak songs
but
on.
you know, you create you create the world, and you can use Aslak songs.
You could also, like, literally, I mean, in a choreography, you could, of course, kill the police. I wouldn't, you know, recommend it, but
It's very. This is what's called inspiration.
I'm seeing a new project here.
By the way, you can do that. By the way.
I just think it's. Let's say, if I want to be hopeful, of course you create. I'm not saying perfect world, because then I think it's a bit too ambitious to call anybody perfect. But okay, but I think, and it's best. It creates a certain societies, let's say, that can create movements. You know, exactly. You know, like you are in a room, or you know, like ways of seeing the performance, which was in Norway, which was made such a big noise. You know, they made it in a theater, and maybe they had only, I don't know how many public they had, maybe say 2,000 or something, I don't know, or more. But the vibration of it is totally different. So I think for me it's always about that. Yeah, you have these people here, but if you only touch like 10 of them, let's say, they go and they sit in a dinner and they talk with somebody else, and then it continues, and that's a movement which is very difficult to control. I think, for me at least, I'm thinking like it's very difficult to control these spaces, these very private spaces, which the stories has been told again and again, And if we go back to stories, and I know this story of like, you know, Turkmens, they have this very different ways of waving carpets. And the Turkmens are basically, so if a family took over an area, then they banned, they had only their way of waving the carpet, like the how it's waved and how the format inside of it. So the ones where like they want to keep on their thing, they did it at night, and they made some under the pillow or something like this. So today I can go to a shop and I can buy the under the pillow of somebody which made it. And I have that story, you know, that this was waved, you know, woven, sorry, by that somebody which basically tries to continue a certain tradition, a certain way of thinking by the patterns. Create a real, so in a way, and so if you think about it, that stayed, they didn't manage to shut that person off. It continued, and now many, you know, hundreds of years later, I'm sitting on it, it hangs on my wall. And maybe it's not such a big, you know, it doesn't do such thing, but actually it moves, it survives, and I think for me personally, this is a movement, you know, so it's not about, we talked about age earlier. I think some part of age is this kind of thing that at certain point, I can become, it's like you understand what you can do, and then you understand that hopefully if you've done something, there is like 3-4 generations after you, which comes, you know, the one who's listened to your song or to, you know, like it's just this, and that's something I think power understand. Power understand that if it's a good power, this also we have to understand. I'd rather have a very good power against me than bad power, because that makes me good also, I would say. I have to resist good in a sense. So I think they understand this, that maybe I have to shut this down now, because if I don't do it now, I have no control over how it grows.
Yeah.
But those kind of, you know, small tokens of fighting against oppression, like those weaves underneath the pillows, sometimes it's art and sometimes it's not. You know,
exactly.
Like during the Second World War, we had these what do you call them, binders?
Yes.
That you put in your collar, and that was a symbol against the Nazism. You know, and
A symbol to get arrested.
No, they couldn't arrest people just for having those, you know, at least not in the start. And they could use red nisselue, you know, hats on their, you know, you could do stuff that didn't have anything to do with art or anything, but it was just small, discreet tokens of fighting the oppression. Yeah. And it, you know, sometimes it's art and sometimes it's not, and it doesn't really matter, or you know, but it's. I just thought about it, but you were talking about it as art, but sort of it is not, or it could be.
It's like creating a scene.
Yeah.
I can see it as art.
Yeah, it's not
just
maybe not that important if it is art or not.
When you use a color or a symbol or a pin.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, art.
Or you could say there are different ways of activism. Sometimes art learn from activism, and sometimes activism learn from art.
Yeah. And then the art needs to be a part of, or don't need to, because art can be anything. And you know, I'm not telling people how art is supposed to be, but art can be when that thing about the pillows, you know, then art, you know, sort of comes inside the public fight. You know, it's a part of a bigger fight than itself. And it still participates in it, and it's a part of it, and it's sort of very direct and very, you know, it's both full of nuances and very direct at the same time.
I see it very subtle. It like sneaks in the culture without noticing.
It's subtle, but still powerful.
Powerful, but it's like it goes in your system, like you get programmed on like being free or like it's for me as a child, for example, we never had elections. I didn't know that saying no is an option. No. You know, when I grew up, can we refuse the president? Because he was the president for like 30 years. Yeah. So when I was around 25, he started when I was born. I just realized suddenly that we can say no. I never thought about it before. We never had elections, at least. Not even fake elections. So I didn't know it was an option. So when you wove this, or wave, I don't know, woven, get this woven, that rejection is a possibility, it gets in your head and stays back there. That's very subtle, not direct for me. But it lives inside your brain, or your subconscious. Yeah.
At least the message is kind of clear.
But I'm thinking
Yeah,
also,
it is.
could this be a problematic that with, you know, that's part of when we're saying that, it's just when you talked just now, it also confronts a bit, we say, you know, art should not be, at the time, we don't want to impose it on anybody. And some part of me, and I'm now a bit on the edge, because now we've been talking too long and maybe I'm losing it, but okay. It's just, maybe that's one of the problems that we have. We don't dare to say what it should be and what it should not. You know what I mean? And what happens in that room, at least I think in Norway or in Europe, I would say, the moment we don't say, we have an extreme right wing dressed in its most sophisticated something, comes in and just goes into these small empty spaces and defines it. And it says it should not be this, without any problematic. You know, we are sitting, you know, you could say we are sitting here in post-leftish morality discussion, you know, like we discuss with ourselves, because we've been so criticized that we were so categoric, the left was so right and wrong, la 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 la. So now we have embodied this discussion inside. Am I okay if I say art should not be this? You know what I mean? And then while we are dealing with all this kind of discussion, suddenly this right-wing bastards liberalist just comes in and just goes like, female don't have a right for shit, if you ask me. And they just go, while you're discussing, you know, and they just go, bah, and
But I mean, yes.
You know what I mean? There's
I
something, and I'm not saying I don't know how to hit it. I'm not saying I know how to hit it, huh? But it's almost like, at this personally, I just go like, what happened? I could hit this so well, and now I'm just like.
Are you lost in the nuances?
No, it's something like, you know, like, and of course I know what happens the moment I go to the other one. You know, I know what happens if I hit it also. You know, it's just that. I know that it will not function as it did before if I hit.
Yeah, but my point isn't that I mean, I have a lot of opinions on art, you know, on what is good art and what is bad art for me. You know, what do I want to do and what I don't want to do. But also in my perspective, it's important to, you know, let the blossoms bloom and let people do their stuff. And I think, I mean, that is the method of the ultra right, you know, is to define what is what's right and what's wrong, you know. And they would say no, you know, really artistic dance choreographies, that's bad culture. We don't need it. We should spend money on it. Yeah. And I don't want to say that, even if I don't you know, watch it a lot, you know, because I don't understand your thing, you know, and it might be great. It's just not. I just don't understand it. And I mean, if I would say that, no, the only way for political activism in meeting culture is political direct rap music, that would be kind of silly too, you know.
I know. That's what I'm trying. It's just. I think it's a bit. I'm not really. I don't have any answers. It's just about. I don't. There is almost like. In a way, what you said also is that. What about if you dare? Because I sometimes think maybe it's also about daring to define and fail. because I mean, this is something I had this thing since I have this doubility. I have lots of contact with different people from different, but then, like, you know, I never go back. I never go to Iran, so I'm free in this sense to do whatever shit. I don't need to think of consequences of what I'm doing. Some others must, because they have to make something and then they're going back to Iran or Egypt, anywhere, you know, in the country that they go. But so I'm also thinking, like, what is the possibility and responsibility of that choice? You know what I mean? So I think I'm just looking, because there are things that are happening. I remember, like, one of the big things. Yeah. It really depends where you are and what. I was performing in Palestine, in Ramallah, and I had this performance where I'm talking about that reality is manipulated. That I can manipulate my dreams by dreaming, and I can, like, change the whole thing. And while I'm standing and saying the text in Ramallah, I have to stop. I cannot say this in Ramallah, because the Israeli government is rewriting a history again and again. That's what they do. They have actually taken a history and they rewrite it. And I'm standing there in my total luxury of total free identity, you know, my identities and my mobility and my Norwegian passport and everything like this, thinking, like, yeah, come on, let's play with this identity history and let's just move it around, slip it up. And then suddenly I'm standing, I am in Ramallah. I cannot say this. I have to stop, and I had to stop the performance.